Terry's given the pledge. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good. Mr. Cronin's coming. Mr. Brazel's on the phone, so
Okay.
I guess we're starting without him. I don't know.
Give him a minute. Okay, all right. Are we all set, gentlemen? Here we go. Thank you all for coming. Those of you who are here and those who are watching at home, welcome to the St. Charles County Council meeting of April 8, 2019. Tonight we have Mr. Mark Reardon of Harvester Christian Church that'll come before us, and after that, to give the pledge will be Terry Hollander. Please all rise.
Please bow your heads. Father, we pause before the work of this evening to give thanks to you and to pray for our county council. We are reminded of the truth of Jeremiah that in the welfare of the city we will find our own welfare. In all we do, in all we say, may we seek the welfare of this county. Therefore, I pray for this assembled council that you grant them the wisdom to govern and guide. Father, bless them with the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreement, and bless them with personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give them your blessings, that what they will address tonight will benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved county of St. Charles. I pray all of this in the powerful name of Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have roll call, please?
Councilman Cronin.
Here.
Councilman Brazel.
Here.
Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilman Hollander.
Here.
Councilman Klinghammer.
Here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is conditional use permits. Tabled bill number 4689. Now is Exhibit C and ready for final passage.
I'd like to make a motion to remove Bill 4689 from the table.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So it's removed from the table. Discussion?
I apologize. First of all, I missed the last two meetings. I had to go to California, the first meeting, which was unexpected, and then we had a family vacation, so that's why I missed the meeting. So I appreciate you guys for tabling this. I did meet with Drew. We went over all the conditions. All the conditions are what was recommended by plan zoning and the people who spoke on it. Also, one issue was that Mr. Brinkman has an additional lot behind it, and he is petitioning to have that 83 acres put in as a conservation easement. And so that's the conversation that we had, and he's working on that. So I appreciate the fact that he's trying to add more ground to this location, and so everything that we talked about with his conditions, he's agreed to and been very cordial about it. And he's got a wonderful place there, so it's also going to preserve the history there as well.
Okay, very good. Is there any other discussion? If not, Claire, would you please read the title and call the roll?
Bill number 4689, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 18-18 for building structures or open spaces for conducting weddings and/or wedding receptions or other private parties to Robert G. Brinkman and Kim Brinkman, property owners. Councilman Cronin.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Klinghammer.
Yes.
Bill 4689 is passed. We'll move on to public comments. This is a time when anybody come before the council and speak on any topic, but once a topic has been determined, we'll allow 3 speakers pro and 3 speakers con, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Are there any speakers?
There are. Tim Brown.
I come here today to tell you I got my car towed by the sheriff's department. It was $350. I talked to a councilman, I talked to the sheriff's department, nobody seems too interested. It's awful funny, the city's put bids out for towing. You guys don't put bids out for towing. I don't know why. I mean, he charged me 4 times more than a regular tow. And the other thing is, the lawyer that had the car towed because it was a judgment I thought was taken care of, said he told the sheriff's department to call him before they tow it. Knock on the door, see if you can get somebody. They didn't do it. They said they did, but they didn't. The other thing is, the reason you bid tows, St. Charles is paying $95. St. Peter's is paid $25 for 30 years or better. O'Fallon's paying $20. That's to the yard. Winsfield just got a contract. They're paying $10. When competition comes in, and you look at me like that's not right, call around and see. The reason they charge so less to get the business, and they get $50 a day storage. And you can call around and do your own homework. But I think, you know, I'd like to know if the sheriff's department or any county members get any kind of free lunches or any kind of buddy deals. And I mean, it sounds like a buddy deal when you can tow for, you know, 4 times the regular rate. You can call him, his regular rate would be $80. I got towed 6 miles for $350, $349 to be exact. You know, and you give me a rate sheet. His rate sheet's higher than that. I don't know if it's right. It, you know, don't have his number on there or nothing. I just don't understand how long it's been going on that you haven't bid towing. You know, it just don't make sense. And it don't make sense. Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm here to talk about it. I think we could probably do something. The other thing is, how do you pick the towers? They said a rotating thing. I know somebody that tows for a city. He said he can't get on the list. That seems awful funny, too. Anybody got any reason we can't put it out for a bid? I would ask that, I think my thing's too late. I'm not asking for any money back or nothing. I'm just asking the county to put it out for bid and get the prices the other cities are getting.
John, you want to tell them what the procedure is for public comment?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
right now it's public comment. We're here to listen to you. We don't interrupt.
Well, you listen to me, and I just add a concern. Do you think we can put it out for bid and be like the rest of the cities and counties in the Missouri?
We really can't answer that at this time, sir. We're just here to listen.
How would I get an answer? So you're happy that somebody charges 4 times more for a towing? That makes you happy? You said yes.
Sir,
We really can't comment.
I'm Joanne Lycum. I'm the Director of Administration, and if you will leave your information,
Sure.
I'll talk to the sheriff. The
I called
sheriff
the sheriff.
separately
He never
elected.
called me back. I talked to my councilman. He said he couldn't get nowhere with it. I mean,
She's giving you an answer to your
okay,
question.
that's fine.
So
I just think it's awful funny, you know.
I'll be happy to get back with you as soon as I'm able to talk with him.
Anybody want a copy of the bill?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll give you a copy of his tow rate.
Leave
The
it-
tow rate's higher than
Leave it
that.
with them. Thank you.
At the end of the meeting.
Huh?
I don't have it right now, but I can do it after the meeting.
Is there another speaker?
Yes, there is. Robert Chatro, please.
Yeah, my name's Robert Chatro, and I'm just here to get a piece of ground rezoned from A agricultural to RR. It's on Hopewell Road. It's on the agenda tonight to be brought up in the meeting. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer them. We got 6 acres, 6.23 acres, and we're just trying to rezone it from the agricultural to the RR. So council. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer them tonight. If they do, it's going to be on the agenda, so that's all I have to say.
Very good.
If
Thank you.
anybody has questions, we'll call you up during that part of the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Another speaker?
Graham Garvey.
This should be the last time you have to hear from me for a while. Thank you for passing the resolution with the limitations that you did include. The residents who've spoken to you, who've emailed you, who have come to these meetings appreciate those limitations. I do want to state that we think you have fallen short in the limitations that we asked for. There were up to 5 different limitations we asked for. The one which you heard from most of the residents on consistently was around alcohol. We'll continue to monitor, we'll continue to track to see if we see an uptick in alcohol and DUI-related incidents in our area because of this. We now have a better way on how to look. So we appreciate that you did apply the limitations you did, but we do want to let you know that we do feel that you fell short. And so thank you very much for what you did for us, but if the opportunity does come back and we see it, where we see an uptick in DUI-related accidents, et cetera, in our region, we'll come back and petition because we don't know what else to do. We feel we gave you enough information to make a decision now at this time. Obviously, you didn't think the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Andrew Hunn.
Good evening. Sorry about that. Andrew Hunn, Manager of Corporate Security for MasterCard over in O'Fallon. I'm here to speak for the Bill 4706 that's being presented to you this evening from Chief Todd and St. Charles County PD. I just wanted to say thank you for looking at this ordinance and the need that it's presented in our communities, in our workplaces, due to changes in times, especially companies like MasterCard, where we have dignitaries and we have people from every culture, every lifestyle, every religion, every day. So it's a very uncomfortable thing for them to walk in and see somebody with a sidearm on. So working with St. Charles County PD has been wonderful to be able to sit in a room with them and present our side of things and work with them on their side of things and try to find the middle ground has been good. So I will be here throughout the meeting, so if there's any questions that I can offer from the corporate private sector, I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Arnie Dienoff.
Thank you very much, members of the County Council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, Public Advocate and County Resident. First of all, the first speaker, who I believe was in the auto repair business, he has some great merits, and it's something that's been on my radar, and I'm glad that he brought it up. The towing contract really needs to be done. Our unincorporated area acts as a city compared to the other populations of the county. We are now over 90,000 people in unincorporated county. There are towing contracts in the city of Wentzville, Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, St. Charles City, and St. Peters, but not in the unincorporated county. It's on a quarterly, every 3-month rotation basis. In Wentzville and O'Fallon, which is on the City Council agenda on Thursday, they'll be discussing where it will cost residents of the City of O'Fallon $0 for flat tire changes, $0 for battery jumps, $0 for a lockout, $0 for blocking traffic being broken down. It's free to residents of O'Fallon, and there's also a similar contract in Lake St. Louis and Wentzville where it's free to residents. So you need to get on board, get up to speed, and make our residents the top priority and protect them in a contract that's open and fair to the public. We are known throughout the country as the smartest and the most educated county in the country. However, when it comes to voting, there's many questions that I have that are kind of sad when people turn out to vote. You're voting for 12 people. Your vote counts for 1 vote, but you're really voting for 12 people. The turnout at last Tuesday's election was atrocious. It's sad. It's sad that Americans and people in St. Charles County, we pay 50% of our salaries go to county, state, and local taxes. Your spending ways and spending limits need to come to a halt. I am not in favor of the tax increase that you're looking at proposing and putting on the ballot in the next coming years. When you put things on the bill such as raising recycling fees instead of encouraging recycling of the county, I have some real issues with. When we look at buying an $88,000 airboat from a corporation out of state, how many boats do we currently have in emergency management? How many boats does the Fire Protection District have? Is it really necessary? They were not the lowest bid. The lowest bid was $85,000, not the $88,000. This is not the Everglades of Florida. Do we really need another boat in our police arsenal of police units? Don Brown Chevrolet, we want to spend $81,969 for a four-wheel pickup truck in St. Louis City and not right here in our own county where we have a Chevrolet dealership. Herb Equipment Company, $131,000. I also believe that they're located in another county, and we're not supporting our
Mr. Chairman,
neighbors.
the 3 minutes are up.
We're not supporting our neighbors and our friends, and I think we need to keep our business right here at home in St. Charles County.
Thank you, Henri.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
That's the final speaker.
Thank you, Claire. County Executive, do you have an oral report?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Seeing none, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion for approval.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Or I meant to ask, is there anyone to oppose?
I oppose.
Okay. Motion carries. Moving next to resolution number 19-01.
It's tabled. It's tabled.
Oh, that's tabled, okay. Then we'll move on to bills for final passage.
What bills table, what, I'm sorry, on what table bills?
The resolution is tabled.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, correct.
Okay, the bills for final passage, starting with Bill 4696.
Bill number 4696, an ordinance amending section 243.020 ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, relating to fees for recycling.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, read the title and call the roll.
An ordinance amending section 243.020 ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, relating to fees for recycling. Councilman Cronin?
Yes.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Klinghammer?
Yes.
Bill 4696 is passed, and we're moving on to Bill 4697.
Bill number 4697, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements with certain municipalities for enforcement and prosecution of various codes adopted by the municipalities and enforced by the St. Charles County Department of Community Development.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, read the title and call the roll.
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute agreements with certain municipalities for enforcement and prosecution of various codes adopted by the municipalities and enforced by the St. Charles County Department of Community Development. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin?
Yes.
Bill 4697 is passed. We'll move on to 4698.
Bill number 4698, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement between the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, St. Charles County, Missouri, for development of a flood inundation map to support flood warning for Darden Creek in St. Charles County, Missouri.
Any questions or comments?
I got a couple questions. Who's putting this map together? Is this with you, Mike, or Robert? Are we gonna, oh, come on. Is this gonna impose any kind of federal regulation on landowners with any kind of new map revisions or anything?
No.
None at all?
No. This is utilizing the existing flood, the stream gauges on Darden Creek, so there's.
I heard that last time we did a flood analysis.
I mean.
So, yeah, just so we're clear, this is no new federal regulations or no new map drawn, changing flood elevations and flood zones and all that?
No, it's literally going to tell us where the potential
Water's gonna
would
be, and then you can
its
warn.
flood
Okay,
event.
perfect.
Yep.
That's all I want to know.
Sure.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Bill 4698 is passed. And we're moving.
We'll need to. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement between the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, and St. Charles County, Missouri for development of a flood inundation map to support flood warning for Darden Creek in St. Charles County, Missouri. Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Klinghammer.
Yes.
Councilman Cronin.
Yes.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Now, Bill 4698 has been passed, and we'll move on to bills for introduction, starting with 4699.
Bill number 4699, requested by Michael Hurlbert, sponsored by Joe Brazel. An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District as per application RZ 19-02.
Very good. Any questions or comments?
I guess, Mark, are you here to talk about this real? You don't have to swear on this.
Oh, my mistake. I just wanted to say hi.
Old habits are hard to break, huh?
Yes, sir. Could I
Well,
answer for you, Councilman?
this is just somebody dividing a lot. What exactly?
We have a community that is largely made up of 3-acre lots. It's been there for many years. This particular lot is 3.71 acres, and it's cut in half by a road that the community uses to get to the lake. Could we put the slide up? Thank you.
That was quick.
Yep, you got it, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
I
Okay.
didn't know there was going to be a test.
So the lot is bifurcated by the road, and that lower section is 0.71 acres. It's extremely steep and essentially useless to the homeowner. Additionally, we have a 100-foot setback where they're not even allowed to build anything or even cut a path without permission. So again, largely useless to them. And it is the only piece of land that our homeowners association would be able to purchase. We're otherwise landlocked, and it could be very useful for our homeowners association for additional parking. So if we were to purchase that from them, it would not lower the size of their lot below 3 acres, which is consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. And the reason I'm here today and the reason we're seeking rezoning is more of the path to success, unfortunately, had to take this path. It wasn't that we desired to rezone the property. Our understanding is that we need to go from A agricultural to RR rural residential, after which we then need to vacate the property or ask to vacate the property, de-subdivide it, and then add it to our plat. Actually, let me make a correction. The lake is not platted. It is part of a plat map now. We need to remove it from such. It's my understanding.
So the larger piece is over 3 acres?
Yes, sir.
And all the lots are over 3 to 5 or whatever?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all my questions. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Seeing that, we'll move on to Bill 4700.
Bill number 4700, requested by Mike Hurlbert, sponsored by Joe Brazel. An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District to RR Single Family Residential District with Floodway Fringe Overlay District as per application RZ 19-03.
Are there any questions or comments?
Rob, you want to come up here real quick and tell us what you're doing?
I have a drawing, but I don't know if they have that on to bring it up. Basically, what we're doing is we got a parcel that's 6.23 acres, and we're wanting to rezone that from agricultural, what it is right now, and do to the RR single family. So then we can, be able to put 2 homes on the 6.23 acres. That's our ultimate goal. So we brought it to the last meeting and went over with them and got their approval, and then we're here to get approval from here on the same issue. If there's any questions or anything, Joe, or.
No, the floodway issue, though, they're just going to build a house up?
Yeah.
You got some higher spots in the corners.
There's a building on the property right now. There's a 42 by 90 building on the property. And the house is going to go right in front of the building. And the building is 1.5 feet above the floodplain. which we just put up about 4 years ago. The building's staying, the house is going to go in front of that, and the other home will be on a higher piece yet than that. So the only piece that was in any kind of a fringe on that floodplain was the one where the building's already
Right,
at.
no, are you retiring or something? Or?
No. I wish.
Well, no, that's where all
I
your
wish.
isn't that where your stuff is?
Yeah. Well, I still have, I'm still keeping the 5 acres with
Oh, I
my,
gotcha.
with my landscape, nursery. I'm still
Okay.
keeping 5
Okay.
with that, but I had an additional 6 that I thought I was going to expand someday, so I kept it agricultural.
Yeah.
Now I have some people that are moved from California to live here, and they're here and living with mother and father-in-law, and waiting anxiously to get be able to build on the property. So
No, I'm in favor of this. I'll tell you, Robin, as you know, you had multiple buyers and they'd all call me, and a lot of them were trying to go commercial, and I
Right,
just wasn't
right.
gonna. And I told them out front, I said, we're not doing that. And I didn't mean to hurt your sale.
No, and I really didn't want it to begin with. But when somebody approaches you, you're like, well, I'll give you this. If it's for sale, yes, it is. But I want to do commercial. I'm like, well, it's not zoned that. But if you can get this board and the other board, to agree to that, I guess it's okay. But I go, we have residents, across the street, across the other street, and we do have some conditional zone, unconditional, zoning through there.
Oh, I told them, I drove down there and said, no,
Some.
wait, you can go through the board, but it ain't gonna go through
Right,
me,
right.
But thanks for.
But
going
no,
this
so
route.
we switched it up, and we got some buyers
Yeah.
that are going to build on it, so.
Well, thank you for-
Anybody has
yeah.
any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No?
Seeing none, we'll move to 4701.
Bill number 4701, requested by Michael Herbert, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance amending the 2019 budget approved by ordinance number 18-117 for the St. Charles County Department of Community Development, Division of Building and Code Enforcement, by removing 1 Government Services Representative 2 position and adding 1 Government Services Representative 3 position.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Mike?
Mike, if you or somebody could tell us specifically what would be the difference between a level 2 and a level 3, and what the impact of that would be on the operation of your department, and then also the cost of doing so. And the summary just says that we have enough in the budget to cover it for this year, but of course we need to look past just this year. We have to look on into the future. So
sure, I'll answer that question first. So we actually have an unfilled GSR2 position in BCE right now. So having that unfilled position, we have more than enough salary to cover the difference. You're asking for the difference in the salary?
Yep.
Off the top of my head, I think it was 36 to 38, something like that. So it's about 2,000 to 3,000.
Okay.
And then the efficiencies, it's really just to improve the efficiencies of the department. It would be for promotion, and so there's a we have.
So would you be promoting someone from a level 2 that we have now to a 3?
That's the plan, yes. This would make that opportunity available, yes.
Okay. And how does that improve the efficiencies within the department?
So the person has actually received some certifications that are above the level of this job, and so they're already moving forward with trying to be more advanced in terms of permit certification, and being able to process those. So this person would be able to grow within those certifications and be able to go through the permit process more efficiently.
In the summary then, in the future, if you could just tell us this is somebody it's already achieved the additional training and done those things. The way the summary is written, it makes it sound like we're hiring somebody new, and this would allow you to hire somebody that has more job skills than the person that's already filling that position.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other?
Go ahead. And the GSR 3 position, what would that, what division would that person work in?
This is in Building and Code Enforcement Division. It's basically our permits and process our permits, applications.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to Bill 4702.
Bill number 4702, requested by Craig Tykowski, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute Surface Transportation Program Supplemental Agreement Federal Project STP-7302-669 with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for acquisition of right-of-way for work associated with the construction of an interchange at Route 364 and Gudermouth Road.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to Bill 4703.
Bill number 4703, requested by Craig Tykowski, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance establishing new traffic regulations and establishing penalties for violations thereof.
Any questions or comments on? Yes.
The folks in my district are very happy that the Craig's department approved, or gave tentative approval, I guess, or recommended the stop sign on Deer Creek. So they keep asking me when they're going to get it, and I would hope the council support that. I think the police department, the highway department, everybody's good with it. Okay.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to 4704.
Bill number 4704, requested by Hope Woodson, sponsored by John White. An ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of grant funds up to the amount of $7,000 from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and further amending Ordinance 18-117 by providing related supplemental appropriations to the budget of the Preparedness and CRI Grants Division budget of the Department of Public Health.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to 4704. 045.
Bill number 4705, requested by Hope Woodson, sponsored by John White. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement for financial assistance grant agreement number 2019003 between St. Charles County and the St. Louis Jefferson Solid Waste Management District for receipt of funds in an amount up to $100,000, and further amending Ordinance 18-117 by providing related supplemental appropriations to the budget of the Environmental Division budget of the Department of Public Health.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, I got a question. Is this a grant we've received before?
Yes, we receive it every year.
Okay. That's my only question. That was easy.
That was easy.
Any other questions or comments? Good work. Seeing none, we'll move to 4606.
Bill number 4706, requested by Dave Todd, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance amending section 605.010 to 605.140 of the Ordinance of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCC-MO, concerning the licensing of watchmen and security officers.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. Dave, I guess on our new concealed carry laws in the state of Missouri, I'm just curious why we even have this as a law. I mean, I'm in favor of what they want to do, but why did we even have that on our books anyway?
Because it's security guard licensing, and we hold them to a tighter standard because they're getting into the public.
So it's not a matter of any private business wanting to have any kind of armed personnel. That's perfectly legal, right? Is the fact that they're licensed?
If they have a staff member and they want to arm them, that's fine. If they're hiring a security guard, that comes under licensing because we control what they can carry, what they shoot, and that they have to have training. So you as a shop owner, pick a shop, any kind of shop, you want to have one of your staff members there, and the staff member is your person, that's not an issue. If you're hiring a security guard company coming in, we control licensing, hence we make sure that they have the proper training. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted.
Yeah, two separate creatures, yes, sir.
Yes, Joe.
I have no problem with MasterCard, and I understand what you're after, and I have no problem with this bill. But I think it's a perfect opportunity for me to ask some questions, okay? If you'll give me indulgences. I had a resident in my district who asked me point blank two things. One is why he cannot get a lifetime CCW permit in this county when the state law allows for it now. And secondly, he quoted the law, and he read the law. I admire the man. He was well versed in it. And he said why in this department, in this county, the police department handles it rather than the sheriff, because state law handle sheriff. Now, I'm not asking you to answer these questions now.
I can
but-
answer both of them easily.
Well, you don't have to. If you want to do
Okay.
next meeting, that's fine. And the other question I would have would be this. If the sheriff under state law is allowed to take care of CCW permits, would not that be wise in the terms of freeing up your folks to handle CCW permits?
They would still come through records.
Okay, but at the same token, the sheriff also has access to those records, and also he has access to when somebody has a CCW permit and maybe gets convicted for domestic violence to pull that permit in. So, I mean,
I can pull the permit in.
Okay. Well, my question, I guess, to the counselor while we're here is, if state law says that a lifetime permit, CCW permit is available or is supposed to be available to our residents, why we don't have that? And specifically, I guess the other thing I'd like to know by law would be why in this county is the sheriff not doing that and we have the PD doing it instead? So, and I can say the same way. If you want to answer it next meeting,
Very
that's
good.
fine.
Hang on.
I'll review it and return.
The reason we're not doing it is the state hasn't given us the paperwork yet to do the lifetime. We've had numerous requests for that. We have not received the paperwork from state. Us nor the sheriff's department, if we don't got it, we can't give it to the citizens.
But that would require an ordinance for us. We'd have to change the ordinance too, though, wouldn't we?
No.
The county
No.
ordinance?
You'd have to change the charter. When we split off the police department, that's just one of the
He's talking
decisions
about the
you make.
lifetime first.
Yeah,
He's
I'm-
talking about the lifetime.
I'm speaking to the lifetime.
Oh,
That's what I'm
no,
speaking of, yeah.
Yeah.
But would we have to
He
change
wasn't
the
on the
ordinance for the
second
lifetime
question
permit?
He wasn't
No,
on the
I don't.
second
Why would we? Because it comes.
I don't know.
Yeah, state authorized, not authorized, it's the state authorizing it.
Why couldn't we just take in the expiration box, put lifetime, or, or abbreviate it lifetime? Okay, I don't understand why it's a big deal,
That's
instead
the
of an
state.
expiration date, putting lifetime on there.
That's the state.
I've
They
heard it was
control it.
Missouri Sheriff's Association that comes out with that software, so.
But the state authorizes
I
it.
don't think they've got the state.
But getting back to this resident, he says, I'm tired of having to go in every few years. The state authorized us to get lifetime ones.
I don't
like the
disagree.
lifetime ones. Yep.
Well, why do you even need a concealed carry permit if
You don't.
you don't need one anymore? So what?
But some folks,
If you travel, Joe, to other states,
the reciprocal agreements.
but in the state of Missouri, you're not required to have it anymore. And in spite of all the doom and gloom, we have not had any issues with our citizens and them carrying their weapons. But we have not received the paperwork from the state. That's why we haven't issued them. We've had numerous calls on that. And then Eichler's on it, and be happy to take care of it. As soon as we get it, they're welcome to it.
The actual card, do we print that card, or does it come from someone else?
It comes from the state, I believe. We don't print those.
I've
I don't
never
think
seen
we
a
print
printing
it.
order for them, no.
Okay.
Any other questions or
On,
comments?
on your second question, though, I think what the county executive was explaining is that the Constitution of the state of Missouri says that in a charter county, the charter decides where duties go, and when the sheriff department and the police department were split, the sheriff's department was a carve-out of a couple of things specifically, and everything else remained with the police department. And so this remains with the police department because it was not a carve-out to the sheriff's department. The fact that the state legislature said it should be one or another means nothing in a charter county whatsoever.
So you're saying that the charter law and the charter trumps the state law that says it's the sheriff?
Absolutely, when it comes to the assignment of duties to a county officer, and I can give you a number of cases, or I'll give them to John, and John can give you a number of cases that say exactly that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Did the gentleman want to make any comment about why this was done, or are you good? No, I'm sorry, the gentleman in front of you who spoke about this earlier, from MasterCard, sorry. That would be ironic if you worked for MasterCard too, though. Awesome. I figured you came all the way, so crossed the fence and everything.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Seeing none, we move to 4707.
Bill number 4707, requested by Heather Smith and Judge Joel Brett, sponsored by John White. An ordinance amending the 2019 budget adopted by ordinance 18-117 to add one additional position of Assistant Court Clerk 2 to the municipal court.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. I have no doubt that the position is needed. My concern is how we're going to pay for it. You know, just a couple of months ago, we spent a lot of time going over the budget and trying to, we certainly studied hard about the projected general revenue fund is going to be under pressure. So, and here, just a couple months after passing the 2019 budget, we're adding another position. Can you give us a little bit more background on why we need to do this, and not only from a workflow standpoint, which I know Judge Brett very well. I'm sure he needs it, but talk to us about how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah, so until just in the last couple of months, when tickets were written, they went first to a diversion at the state's fine collection center, and people could voluntarily pay their tickets. The state, and I must tell you, I don't know why they decided to do it, but they have closed the fine collection center. So about 30% more tickets are flowing our way. And as you know, from a couple of years ago, in order to allow the prosecuting attorney's office to concentrate on felonies and the more serious misdemeanors, the traffic work that they did, other than certain DWIs, flows to the municipal court as well. So a court that was doing around 8,000 tickets a year is now going to be doing around 18,000 to 20,000 tickets a year. There will consequently be some revenue for that. I can also let Bob speak to the certification if you want more on that, but the sheer volume of tickets, what Joel Brett and the court clerk have talked to us about, is the most important thing in any infraction court, whether it has to do with the tickets that come from our housing program or our animal control program or from the traffic program, is that you give people a fair day in court quickly and give time for people to work out whatever fine they may owe as a result of that. They are now getting into a situation where they are significantly behind entering tickets. And so they have waited as long as they felt they could to see if there would be any change in the flow of traffic out of some of the things that the Missouri legislature has changed. There is no flow. It is continuing to go up in numbers.
Okay, so we're doing more work that used to be done at the state level. Talk to us about, is there more revenue that's
every ticket has a fee that the courts have authorized that helps pay for the administration of that.
Okay, and is that additional amount enough to offset the $36,000 of increased wages?
We believe it will be. We definitely believe it will be, but until we see what the flow is on that, we can't ascertain that for certain. So I believe the revenue certification. Pardon me?
Are you saying we don't know if this increased number of tickets is going to continue throughout the year, or?
Everything we have says it will.
Okay.
And if it does, then it pays for the position.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move to 4708.
Bill number 4708, requested by Michael Hurlbert, sponsored by council as a whole. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an amendment to the agreement with Northeast Community Action Corporation, NECAC, NECAC, to act as grant subrecipient in managing housing choice vouchers assigned to the St. Charles County Housing Assistance Program.
Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, that concludes bills for introduction. We'll move on to tabled bills. Is there?
I'd like to make a motion to remove bill number 4680 from the table.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Seeing none? Bill number 4680 is off the table.
Refresh my memory, Dave. Are we supposed to add a substitute bill now?
It's next.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to replace bill number 4680 with substitute bill number 4680.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Before you say all in favor, there's a part that the chairman is to read. Is there any discussion?
Is there any
amendment?
discussion or amendment to the substitute? Yes.
I'd just like to say the only change on this substitute bill was regarding the decision of the director of the Division of Planning and Zoning may be appealed by the applicant to the county council. That's the only change to this substitute bill.
All right. Is there any other further discussion or comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I haven't had a chance to read the substitute bill because we just got it this evening. But that being said, I mean, it's pretty clear from the summaries in my discussion with Zordita O'Rourke that this bill is basically designed to permit the development of the Missouri Bluffs subdivision. Now, that being said, there's some new developments regarding that subdivision. If you read Sunday's paper, University of Missouri's decided to sell all their holdings in that area to a public entity like St. Charles County Parks or Conservation Department or whatnot. So that being said, with that being done, I think it might be prudent to not only, I'd like to have the time to look the substitute over a little bit, but also see what becomes of this process with the rest of the ground surrounding that subdivision. The proposals are due by the end of the month. Additionally, a not-for-profit contacted me and said that they were going to been discussions with Mr. Whitaker possibly about buying the rest of his interest in the ground surrounding the golf course. I don't know if there's any fruition of that will happen or not, but if that's the case, it's a possibility this whole area could end up being some type of conservation or park area. Additionally, I don't like this bill for the simple reason that this changes our ordinances for the entire county for specific benefit of one subdivision. I'm not aware of us doing this on any other subdivision in the county in the 8 years that I've been on the council. So that being said, I think it's bad policy. If you really have to change the slope and grading requirements, do it for District 1 where you have those steep hills. Don't do it for districts, 1s, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's my comment.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Well, I think there's been some situations in the past where there's been some slopes that have been approved and did not meet the criteria of this bill in the past. So I think has to do more with getting things right for what was done in the past, plus any future developments where we have steep grades. We really don't have an ordinance or a way to deal with this when we have common ground that has very steep grades. And as long as it's undisturbed, it's allowed to remain, and that's all this bill does. It doesn't allow them to go in and change the grades in these areas. It's those undeveloped areas that this bill will address.
John?
That's all I have.
Mike, can you want to come up here real quick just to give a real quick summary? And we're going to stay with Dave just said. We went over this, and this is absolutely not the truth that we're doing this for one subdivision. The fact is when certain stuff comes across certain zoning situations and conditions, you realize that certain UDO ordinances were written and they're very unaccommodating. And what this problem has come up over and over. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but when I understand this is a continual problem trying to deal with common ground issue. This is dealing with the common ground, the woods, the way the woods and the hills and the ridges slope, and saying that ground is acceptable to be part of the lot or part of common ground. And yeah, it's steep, but it's the natural grade. That's the way I understand it. I mean, is that part of it or what, Mike? I mean, given a quick summary, that's the way I understand this. This is not just for one particular ordinance. That's completely unfair to say. That's the way I understood it.
What was your question?
We talked about, this has plus been on the table a long time, and so we owe it to the applicant to make a decision. And the only change is the substitute is what Dave said. It's not to let the director make the decision, but to let it come to the council. So that's a good thing. So on some of the questions that went back, and this doesn't have anything to do with roads. This is just just the natural contour of the ground, or is that correct?
It's dealing with the undeveloped ground, as Councilman Hammond mentioned. There can be slopes that are in right-of-way that would be impacted by this. But that's not, the intent was not to talk about disturbed ground. It's really about the slopes that are usually at the periphery of the subdivisions, usually they're not to be developed. But rather than have to be put into common ground ownership, they would be allowed to be put into private properties, private lots.
Mr. Cronin?
I'd like to read verbatim from the clarification correction of the summary of this. And it says the correction is, this bill changed the slope threshold from 30% to 50% to accommodate slightly steeper roads within the PUD compliant with the county road standards, the construction of which would require disturbance of terrain as steep as 50% in slope as agreed by the parties. Now, I'm sorry, Mr. Brazel, but it says PUD, it talks about parties, and I'm not aware of another PUD in this county and parties right now other than Missouri Bluffs. Is that correct, Mr. Sir?
Currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only PUD that's been approved recently.
So we're changing the threshold currently is 30%. We're changing it to 50%. That's what this bill does countywide, correct?
That's what I understand, yes.
And basically by the actual summary, it says by the PUD as agreed by the parties. So it is what it is. I mean, it's plain English, see what it's for.
I guess a point I want to make, we've had developments come through this county. We had grades steeper than 30%. Augusta Shores is an example. There's another one that's on the bluffs on the Missouri River that has slopes greater than 30%. So this has happened in the past. I don't know if the county ordinance changed between the time those properties were developed, or if this is different from a change that occurred in the last few years. I'm not sure where this happened, but it ought to be something that we should have some control over. If someone wants to develop a piece of ground that has steep slopes, and a way to protect those slopes by putting them in common ground or making them leave them undisturbed.
Question.
Yes.
So to this point, Mr. Hammond just named off a couple of examples that exceeded the 30% that got developed, which tells me there is a procedure in place where if you want to develop something that exceeds the current slope, we have that procedure in place, do we not?
I don't know what the time frame, what the ordinances stated when those subdivisions were approved. So I don't know if it was under the current ordinance language.
Let's just say, for example.
Could Ardita explain to you perhaps the variance process that would be the answer to your question?
So, thanks very much. Ardita, come on down. You're the next community development member.
I need to bring up some documents. If you can bear with me.
I will point out those other developments were not a PUD, but I don't know why we should penalize somebody if they use a PUD and not allow them to do the same.
Well, I would say this, Dave, that there's a lot of them. There's not just two. There's probably 10 or 15 of them that are like that in District 2 because it's hilly and rocky, and you would have to cut more trees down. You'd disturb more ground if you had to cut into the earth. And people choose to live in those areas. They can see what they're buying. I mean, how much government do you want? You know, and that's the other thing. To me, it's a philosophical thing. It's like we don't need to control every move and every decision people make.
I believe Ardita's going to tell us about a variance process.
I am just going to point out this specific bill. The text of it, a little further up, actually indicates that the submittal of geotechnical report conforming to the requirements of this other section in the Highway Department is actually going to be presented as proof to dig into further than the 50%. What we did, it was a 30% threshold, now this is a 50% threshold. The criteria based upon which this decision is going to be made, and they're reviewed by the Department of Planning and Zoning Director, those criteria were the same. They did not change.
But to my earlier question, if I wanted to build on a steeper slope than what we currently allowed, there is a variance process that you can go through, and you can get that approved to build on the steeper slopes, correct?
Through the Board of Zoning Adjustments, yes.
Right. So to the point that the gentlemen are trying to make, that this just allows those particular areas to be developed that currently couldn't be developed, I would take issue and say, no, they could be developed as long as you applied for the variance, which is why that procedure is in place to allow those areas that you referenced and that you've brought up that are in District 2. That's why they have been developed, because they brought it to a Board of Variance and they got that done. I agree with Mr. Cronin in that this particular bill is completely done just to appease the folks who are trying to build at the Bluffs, and that's what this whole thing is all about. You can sugarcoat it, you can talk about whatever you want, you can make it a bigger deal than what it is, but he's exactly right in the fact that this said for the PUD. Mr. Brazel even says to the applicant, we need to get an answer to him because this has been tabled for a while, which goes to make the purpose even further clearly stated that this is only for the Bluffs. So you can do with this whatever you want. I'm voting no on this just to be consistent on how I was when we put the Bluffs first in. I agree with Mr. Cronin, there's an opportunity for that whole area to see something else happen. So I would like to wait and see if we can see something happen, especially since there is current change going on with the University of Missouri looking at opening up that other piece of land and other people who are in the market for it now. So I appreciate the fact that you brought up that there is a variance process, so I don't think this is needed.
Any other questions or comments?
I would like to, say one thing, but the two are unrelated. The golf course, if that's what Mr. Cronin is speaking of, and the subdivision are unrelated. It doesn't, if there's another entity that buys it, whether it be county parks or state or DNR, whoever, it's irrelevant to this, okay? So you can make as many delays and holdups. I mean, if you're in a business, you're a businessman, you understand that things cost money, and when an applicant, he deserves the right to either turn it down, vote it no, or vote yes. I mean, just move forward. That's all I'm saying. And this thing's already been heard in court. So, I mean, if you're telling me the judges are wrong, then so be it. But, so I don't know where you're going with that, but again, it's the left-right situation, So I'd say you call a question on it and move forward.
Well, we still have another. Mr. Cronin?
Just for relevance, okay? Our existing ordinance is for 30%, okay? The safety manuals that come with every riding lawnmower on the planet will tell you not to operate a riding lawnmower in a slope excessive of 15 degrees. So already our existing standard is twice as steep as what you should use a riding lawnmower on. This is going from 30% all the way up to 50%, and it allows it basically in the ordinance. It states that it's still for the roads within this development. Okay, I do think how steep the roads are a function of government in the sense that the first responders have to travel them, and we get ice in the wintertime. So even if we take the Missouri Bluffs out of equation, which we know it's part of the equation, still changing those grades from 30 to 50% is going to result in steeper roads. It's in the bill. It's in the summary. And that's something that I don't think is a good thing to do countywide.
What Mike said was, in the way it is, it's the setbacks. When you cut into rock, like at my house, I got straight ledges from where there's concrete pads to because you break the rock. That's what they're talking about. The setbacks, Joe, it's the setbacks, because you cut into rock, you're going to have, instead of going way up a hill, making it a slope, you're cutting into rock, making it straight. That's the difference. I mean, come on.
Okay. Any other discussion?
First of all, I think it's, remind the entire board here that after months and months of discussion and various concern, we passed the Missouri Bluffs project. All right, that was passed, and I thought we did a great job of getting it to a point where I think it's a manageable, project. I think at the time, I think most of us probably realized that there was probably something else that was going to have to go along with that project because of the nature of the ground. And I think this specific act here is exactly that. All right, it's the second shoe that's dropping here on that particular project. And I think the only problem I have with it is that is that it is obvious that it is for this project. I'm going to vote for this because I did vote for the project. All right, but I do have a problem with it kind of being covered up as, oh, this is just something that needs to be done, and it has needed to be done for a long time and all that. This is for the Missouri Bluffs, and that's a fact.
I agree with Mr. Hollander. The staff even told us that additional legislation was going to be required for this particular CUP to go forward. That was in the documentation that we were given when we passed gave final approval for that project. So, I'm not surprised when this came forward. I knew that it was coming forward, and my esteemed colleagues that are opposed to it, I understand your position. You didn't like it then, you don't like it now, and you should continue to vote no for it.
Couldn't we just carve out District 2 and make it applicable to District 2 and not countywide?
I don't approve of doing special legislation. If we have my district is about as flat as you can get. I don't know that we have a hill bigger that would anywhere near approach this, but if we did, and it doesn't affect the grade of the road, it is the slopes that are alongside of it. If there was a slope that was already at that grade, I don't have a problem with this. I think it's other communities do it all the time. It is not out of the ordinary. We go down to Lake of the Ozarks, they certainly have right-of-ways that far exceed this, and they find a way for it to work and to manage.
This will result in slightly steeper roads. It's in the summary, okay? So I guess and we're voting for that countywide. That's the problem I have with it.
And I understand. You don't think that's a good idea. I think that it's still going to be a good idea. I think we've weighed both sides of this long and hard on several occasions now.
Okay.
Call the question.
I think we've discussed this long enough, and I'd like to, we're voting on the substitute bill. So all those in favor of the substitute bill?
Aye.
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 Oppose?
Opposed.
Okay. Substitute bill passes. And we're
Just
moving.
the
No, it was
substitute.
No, it's
accepting.
been accepted.
It's
So
been
we have a
accepted.
vote.
Right.
Okay, so the substitute has been, it says it's been accepted.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go to further discussion on it. Seeing none,
Yeah.
ask Claire to call a roll.
Substitute Bill Number 4680, an ordinance amending Sections 405.200.c and 405.210.a of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, the Unified Development Ordinance relating to slopes and common ground. Councilman White.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilman Klinghammer.
Yes.
Councilman Cronin.
No.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
No.
The bill is passed. That concludes bills, and we move on to announcements.
I have an announcement, John.
Okay.
At the next meeting, the 29th, we will have our, we'll bring off the table the resolution on the Better Together, the way it's going to the vote of the people. We will have John Hancock come in. He's going to do a small presentation, and we'll have John Lampkin, he's the ex-senator of the Chesterfield area, come in. He's going to support the resolution. John Hancock's opposed to it. He works for the Better Together. It should be an interesting, I think that actually, Mike, I'll give you some credit that since you opposed it, this bring some light and conversation to this, to give us both perspectives. We'll have some other folks come in we're going to structure a kind of an agenda on it. It starts at 6. It's a 6 o'clock workshop. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. So
Do you have the date again?
It's the 29th, the last meeting in Monday, the Monday meeting, yeah.
All right, very good.
Will we have a substitute resolution, or are we going to stick with the current?
No, I'm sorry. We are going to, Mr. Watson's going to do a one-pager that's going to be more specific to, it's a little convoluted the way, it's confusing the way it's written, I guess, to a degree, because we want to address the fact that we're opposing the way they're going to the statewide vote only. We're not opposing Better Together. We're just opposing the way it's going to vote. So we will make that ordinance or that resolution much clearer and shorter, right, John?
That's correct. Yeah. So I would have a request, if you would. The first line of this resolution says, a resolution opposing unifying the city of St. Louis and St. Louis County into a new form of government. My request would be, if your purpose is to say the city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis voters should be the only ones to vote on this, I would suggest that line comes out of this resolution, because I will not support any resolution that says that we are opposing unifying the city and the county, because I don't even know what their plan is yet for unifying the city and the county. So I don't want to vote on a resolution that says we're doing that. You told me your purpose was to just say city and county should vote on this. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with that first line, which I believe Mr. Hollander pointed out when we tabled it that night. So if we're going to do that, I'm all cool with the resolution.
I think we're discussing actually changing it from being opposed to the unification, but rather we're going to look at it a different way and say that we're supportive of the city and county residents being the ones that make the decision.
Dilly dilly.
There we go.
Mr. Cronin?
I would like to take this opportunity, though, while they're coming, to ask some pointed questions. I've read everything I can about it, and I've got a little bit of a vested interest in it. My grandfather and godfather were St. Louis City policemen. I have a son who lives in Central West End. My folks from North St. Louis. So that being said, I've read everything I can. One of the things I've read is that this proposal from Better Together cuts the property tax in half in St. Louis City and County and eliminates the earning tax. So I'd like to know real bluntly from Mr. Hancock and his backer, Mr. Sinkfield, how they plan on replacing that revenue to the government's functions that take care of St. Louis County. So that being said, I'm giving you that ahead of time. Mr. Brazel, if you're in touch with Mr. Hancock or whoever it is, ask him that up front. So in all fairness, he can answer that.
Well, the thing that we did talk about, though, the structure of this workshop is going to be to dealing with what the resolution states. So it technically would be out of bounds to ask those kind of questions. But, I mean, if the council so desires, we can do that, but we're supposed to focus on what the resolution says. Yeah.
This is going to affect our county and the welfare of our county.
No, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. I just, that's the agenda, is to talk about the vote. Now, do we want to talk about the context? That's really not what the resolution states, but you can ask whatever you want. I'm just saying.
Okay, this turned into a discussion rather than announcements.
I think Mr. Hammond has.
Falls under miscellaneous, doesn't it?
That's right.
Because I guess I have a question that I would ask if John would look this up, but it's my understanding that the current state statute requires this to go before all the voters in the state of Missouri. So I don't know if that's factual or not, but I'd kind of like to know.
One of the issues right now is there is no such petition. All this discussion, the petition's been withdrawn. There's no petition at the Secretary of State.
Hence my earlier point.
No, it's been rewritten.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding, what I've been told, I don't know if it's correct or not, but the one thing that they have to go to everybody in the state for is to change the police department. That has to, if they're going to put, if they're going to go ahead and have one police department, that couldn't be accomplished just by the city and county. But all the rest, of course, could. So I think that's what I've been told. I don't know if it's true, but again, you know, we got 18 months to talk about this and find out those answers to those tough questions.
But back to answer your question, Dave, John Watson, just so we're clear here, they have to be 2 votes. They have to change the Constitution and then have the vote. So right now, it's unconstitutional, but when this comes to the ballot, they're going to ask the people of the state of Missouri to change the Constitution and then vote for this amendment. So it is unconstitutional. That's the way I understand it, right?
Well, the way this is structured, the way the previous one was structured, and I really want to stress, there is no petition to be discussing, because the issues, and this is a pretty common practice in these kinds of matters, that as issues start arising with criticisms and defects in the original petition, they tend to then address those in subsequent petitions. I just saw one in 2014 that had 38 different, it was the 38th version of the petition that was approved by the Secretary of State. So the details are things about things that were in the original petition that's been withdrawn, and clearly in their own public comments, they're trying to address criticisms that were raised in the original initiative petition.
That's a good thing.
So what criticisms they address in the subsequent petition, if they move forward, we'll only know when there's an initiative petition filed with the Secretary of State.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So I have one final announcement, because I know the county executive wants to get home and watch the national championship game, as do I. But our workforce development office does a fantastic job of trying to help people get jobs. And on April 16th, which is a Tuesday night, at the St. Charles City County Spencer Road Library branch in the Community Commons area from 5 to 7, they are doing a job fair for folks to come out for this Spring Career Expo. It's for full-time jobs, permanent jobs that are paying over $30,000 a year. So if some folks are looking for a job that pays a little more than that $10 an hour gig, which a lot of folks are paying more than $10 an hour in St. Charles County these days, which is a good thing. So you can come by the St. Charles City County Library at the Spencer Road branch, April 16th, 5 to 7 p.m. That is all I have, and I would move to dismiss.
Very good.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming.